welcome into the pole position where you always start on the front row. Thanks for joining me once again this evening. I'm Garth Allen, where we will talk everything that happened at Las Vegas Motor Speedway this weekend. Once again, a triple header for NASCAR this weekend. If you're getting tired of nothing but NASCAR on here, it is okay. Next week's show, we spice it up a little bit as IndyCar has their season opener this weekend in St. Petersburg. A little preview of RNN Talks this week. We'll have our IndyCar correspondent Tom Poole on to give us a preview of the IndyCar season on this week's RNN Talks. But this is the pole position. This is an RNN Talk, so let's go ahead and talk what happened this weekend in Las Vegas. We'll start off with the Camping World Truck Series. They ran Friday night, fairly late Friday night. I think it was like a 9:15 p.m. start, something like that. It was fairly late. If you're in the Eastern time zone, that is fairly late. I mean, I'm sure it was kind of early if you're actually in Vegas, but late if you're in the Eastern time zone. It was the inaugural Stratosphere 200, 134 laps from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And for our second correct prediction of the season, Kyle Busch was the winner of this one in the number 51 Cessna Toyota for Kyle Busch Motorsports. Had a very, very strong truck all night. Was up front most of the night. Third in both of the stages, and then led a total of 55 of the 134 laps. So a very strong truck out of Kyle Busch. If you watched RNN Talks on Wednesday, or anytime afterward, I guess, didn't have to watch it when it came out on Wednesday. That's the beauty of YouTube. You can just watch it at your leisure. You don't have to watch it at 8 p.m. on Wednesday. Anyway, if you did watch RNN Talks, we talked about that a little bit. Not too much of a surprise that Kyle Busch picked up the win in this one. Johnny Sauter, your Daytona winner, comes home in the second position. Never led a lap on the night, but was up front in the top 10 most of the night. Brett Moffitt, your Atlanta winner, comes home in third. So very strong showings out of both of them on Friday night. Grant Enfinger in fourth, and Stuart Friesen, who had a very strong truck on Friday night, rounds out the top five. Stuart Friesen finished fourth in stage one and won the second stage. His only stage win in his career thus far, besides Eldora in 2017. He did pick up a stage win in Eldora, which that one wasn't as surprising, being that Stuart Friesen is kind of a dirt track ace. That's kind of where he comes from. So he's been pretty good at Eldora. Hasn't had a lot of speed for the most part in other places. Nice to see him running up front and competing in the trucks. Rest of your top 10, Dalton Sargent, your highest finishing rookie. Ben Rhodes, Cody Coughlin with his best run of the season in 8th. Justin Fontaine and Austin Hill rounds out the top 10. Other notables going down through here, Noah Gragson had a very strong truck all night. Unfortunately, falling back late, picked up the stage win in stage number 1 in a Kyle Busch Motorsports 1-2-3 in stage number 1, with Gragson winning the stage, Spencer Davis in the 4 truck in second, and then team owner Kyle Busch in third. Spencer Davis, the aforementioned, coming home right behind his teammate Noah Gragson in 13th. So they both had strong trucks, unfortunately kind of falling off near the end of the race. Myatt Snyder in that 13 truck for ThorSport coming home in the 15th position. Michel Distier with a respectable 19th place finish in this one. Not a great night for Nemco Motorsports. John Hunter Nemechek, 4 laps off the pace in 21st after some troubles early in this one. Justin Haley with another disappointing run in the 28th position. Matt Crafton, problems early. Did finish the first stage in 10th. Then had some problems in the second stage with the brakes. Only made it 40 laps in this one. Matt Crafton finishes in 29th. That kind of plummets him in the points. We'll talk about that here coming up in a few moments. And we mentioned the bad night for Nimco Motorsports. John Hunter's father, team owner Joe Nemechek, coming home in the 31st position, only completing 23 laps in this race. So that'll do it for our results of the Stratosphere 200. Now let's slide on over to the Media Center, and we'll see what Kyle Busch had to say following his win in the inaugural Las Vegas race for the trucks.
Yeah, it feels really good. I actually went in descending order. If you think about it, I won the Cup race first, then the Xfinity, then the Cup. So kind of ironic that that it went that way. But it's been a long time since I've been able to run in a Truck Series race here, since 2001, and only one shot that time. I was a lot younger in those days. Getting my first crack at the wheel behind the wheel of that 99 truck, and being able to only be 16 years old when I did that. So it was kind of crazy. But, it was fun to get back here with these guys, everybody from Kyle Busch Motorsports. A lot of things have changed, and we've come a long ways over those years. And, have Mike Hillman on the box with me here this weekend. It was really fun to work with him. We've had a relationship where we've always been working against each other, him being with Todd Bodine for many years and some other guys here the last few years, but pretty cool to have him on our side this time around and to be able to get to victory lane together and be able to get my first win of the year. So pretty neat.
All right, now let's take a quick look at the Truck Series points after 3 races before we move on to the Xfinity Series. You can see the playoff picture over here on the left side of the screen. We'll just go quickly here through the movers and the shakers from last week. Stuart Friesen, with his very strong run, bumps himself up 5 positions this week in the standings, all the way up into the 6th position. Cody Coughlin jumping 5 spots as well now, close to the playoff picture, not quite there. He's all the way up to 11th though, so he's got himself positioned now in to make a run toward the playoffs in that GMS truck. Myatt Snyder up 2 positions, and then a bunch of small movers this week. Grant Enfinger, Noah Gragson, Ben Rhodes, Spencer Davis, Justin Fontaine, and Austin Hill all up 1 spot. Now, some big guys moving down the ladder this week. Matt Crafton dropping 6 positions this week in the points. He was 3rd last week, the highest of guys with points in the playoff grid. After last week in Atlanta, he has dropped all the way to 9th in points now. So a very big drop this week for Matt Crafton. I know we're only 3 races in, so it probably doesn't really mean anything, but still an interesting drop for him. Joe Nemechek, with his problems, also dropping 6 spots in the standings now, all the way down to the 15th position in points. Justin Haley dropping 4 spots with his disappointing week, and Dalton Sargent down 1 spot in the points. So let's go ahead and move on to the Xfinity Series now. They were in action on Saturday afternoon in the 22nd annual Boyd Gaming 300, 200 laps from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And we talked about this in RNN Talks on Wednesday. And if you haven't figured it out yet, RNN Talks is a good thing to watch as well. But if you're not already. But I almost picked Kyle Larson in this one. Our pick came very close, though. Christopher Bell came home with a strong 2nd place finish. Just didn't quite have the speed to take down Kyle Larson, who led 142 of the 200 laps in this one and just cruised to the victory. Had the strongest car all day. Came home in 2nd in the first stage, won the 2nd stage. 2nd in the first stage, mind you, to Christopher Bell, who picked up the stage win. Bell just didn't quite have the speed at the end of the race to challenge Larson. Justin Allgaier with a very strong 3rd place finish, getting his season kicked off the right way. Ryan Blaney in that 22 car for Team Penske comes home in 4th. And Elliott Sadler rounds out the top 5. Rest of the top 10, Daniel Hemrick, Brandon Jones, Tyler Reddick, your Daytona winner, Cole Custer, and Spencer Gallagher rounding out the top 10. Other notables as we look down through the field, Kyle Busch comes home in a disappointing 14th. He had a little dust up in the middle portions of the race with, I believe it was Brandon Jones. They kind of rubbed each other coming off of the corner. Kyle was not very happy, signaled to Mr. Jones that he was number one as they were coming down the backstretch. And this took a little bit of speed out of Kyle's car, and he was never quite able to recover from that. He was up near the front, though, before that. I don't know that he had a winning car. I don't know that he really had anything for Larson, but he was definitely much more competitive before the dust-up with Brandon Jones than he was after. Ryan Truex with a disappointing 15th place finish. They just were kind of off all day. That Kaulig racing car never really saw it up near the front in this one. Ryan Reed comes home with a disappointing 19th place finish, one lap off the pace. Let's see here. Ryan Sieg, a disappointing 29th place finish. Austin Cindric, his second run in the 60 car so far this year, and his second accident, comes home in the 34th position in Las Vegas. So now let's head over to the media center. We'll see what Mr. Kyle Larson had to say after his win in the Xfinity Series.
Oh, I got one.
That's awesome. He did, and he's here with us right now, the winner of the 22nd annual Boyd Gaming.
Second.
Yeah, our race was really good. The first run, I think on scuffs, we were just really tight loading into the corner and a little bit tight on exit as well. And you had a lot of fun with Christopher racing. He was able to beat me there at the end to win the stage. But I figured once we got stickers on, I'd be better, which we were. And we kept adjusting on all race. I still, I fought a tight issue the first two stages, but it seemed like once we got into the third stage, you were really good. A little bit tight there, I think, that first run we had, and then we had that bad pit stop, and that's really when our car got better. And I was able to go from 8th to the lead, I don't know, in 15 laps or so. And, I was actually pretty loose, which I liked because I could be more aggressive. So we were able to get to the lead there, and then, if it was going to go green at the end there, I was, going to be a little short on fuel, so I just started saving as much fuel as I could, and felt like we'd be good to get to the checkered, and then we had the caution, and lost a spot on pit road to Reddick there, and then had a couple really good restarts there at the end with some good pushes from Bell to get to the lead, and then Allgaier to maintain the lead. So got to thank those two for helping get us to the lead. But Shiplett and all the guys built an amazing race car. It was neat to get DC Solar their first victory here in the Xfinity Series, so happy about that, and just really thrilled with just how fast our car was all weekend.
All right, so we'll now quickly take a look at the Xfinity Series points before heading on over to the Cup race. Again, you will see the full playoff picture over here on the left side of the screen, and we'll just go through the movers and the shakers this week compared to the points after Atlanta. Not quite the drastic swings that we saw in the truck points, but still a little bit of movement. Christopher Bell jumps 3 more positions. We talked about last week, he had that wreck early in Daytona that put him in the bottom of the points, jumped all the way to 6th after last week in Atlanta. Now he is up to 3rd, definitely cementing himself right there firmly in the championship picture for this season. Also jumping 3 spots this week were Justin Allgaier, Matt Tifft, and Cole Custer. Cole Custer now in the playoff picture, not quite in the playoff grid just yet, but he has bumped himself all the way up to the 13th position, so he is now just below the cutoff line. Jumping 2 spots this week, Brandon Jones up to, as well as Daniel Hemrick. Now, your guys moving down this week, Ryan Truex, again, we mentioned not quite the day he wanted, ending up in the 15th position. He drops 4 spots in points. Ross Chastain also drops 4 spots in points, all the way down to 12th. Ryan Reed dropped 3 with his 19th place finish. And dropping 2 spots apiece were Kaz Gralla and Garrett Smithley, who drops to the 14th position, now outside the playoff grid. So that will do it for our look at the Xfinity Series from Las Vegas. Now we will head over to the main attraction of the weekend, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, the 21st annual Pennzoil 400 presented by Jiffy Lube, 267 laps from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And I don't know that I really saw this one coming. I expected Kevin Harvick to be strong again. I don't know that I expected another dominating performance out of him like we saw last week in Atlanta. He put on another clinic, though. Like, he wasn't even in the same zip code as these guys most of the day. It was ridiculous. Kevin Harvick, I think, is really kind of cementing himself now as one, if not the championship favorite, one of the championship favorites for 2018. I know we've got a long season ahead of us, but this is a ridiculously good start to the season. One that I don't think we've seen out of Kevin Harvick for a few years now. But yes, Kevin Harvick does win the Pennzoil 400, his second win in a row in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. If you want to count the Xfinity race from Atlanta, you could call this 3 wins in a row because he's won the last 3 races that he has been entered in, leading 214 of the 267 laps from Las Vegas. Just absolutely put a hurting on these guys. Once again, just like last week, won both stages. Nobody was going to touch him yesterday. It was just ridiculous. He was gone. He was gone. Kyle Busch comes home with a strong second place finish at a track that, although being his hometown, has not been one of his better tracks in his past. Kyle Busch did lead 10 laps on the day. Kyle Larson, your Xfinity winner, comes home in third. Martin Truex Jr. comes home with a strong fourth place finish. This track being the one that he won his first race in 2017 at and propelled him on his championship run. So another strong finish for Truex at Vegas. Not quite the win he got last year, but another strong finish. Led 6 laps on the day. Ryan Blaney, your pole sitter, rounds out the top 5. Rest of the top 10, Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano ending off this 3 in a row for Team Penske in 5th, 6th, and 7th. Eric Jones comes home in 8th. Paul Menard with a very strong run on the day. Kudos to Paul Menard. I hope we see more of this out of him this season. Comes home in the 9th position. And Eric Almirola, another strong run out of Eric Almirola, rounds out the top 10. Now, other notables in this one. Jimmy Johnson, easily his best run of the season. Didn't have a winning car, but definitely had a good car. Comes home in the 12th position, 1 lap off the pace. And that's another thing I think we need to mention. Kevin Harvick put everyone except for the top 9 1 lap down in this race. Another point of just absolute domination out of Harvick in this one. Looking down through the rest of the field, other notables, Alex Bowman in 16th. Denny Hamlin with a disappointing day comes home in the 17th position. Clint Bowyer in the 18th position. Bubba Wallace comes home in 21st. Another mid-pack day for him, just like Atlanta. Better finish than Atlanta, but running about where he was in Atlanta as well. Cole Custer in his first Monster Energy Cup Series start, driving for Rick Ware Racing in that 51 car, comes home in 25th. William Byron, another disappointing run out of him. I'm starting to... that's the one Hendrick car that right now I think we really probably should be concerned about. Because Jimmy Johnson bounced back yesterday with, like we said, a 12th place finish. Alex Bowman's been putting up decent finishes. Chase Elliott's been running well, although has had some bad luck. William Byron just hasn't had any speed through these first 3 races. Just nowhere close to on the pace. He's the one I think we really need to be worried about right now. He comes home in the 27th position, 4 laps down. Looking through the rest of the field here, Chase Elliott and Kurt Busch taken out in a wreck as Busch kind of slid up the track off of 4, a little bit loose. Had Elliott not been there, Kurt Busch probably could have saved it. Unfortunately, Chase was there, and it ends up putting them both in the wall, ending their day after 183 laps. Jamie McMurray had a problem early on in the race as well. He was out after 176 laps. And Michael McDowell, unfortunately, shotgun on the field, 37th position. Unfortunate to see, as this was probably one of the better weekends we've seen out of Michael McDowell in recent memory. Qualified 15th, had a fairly strong car. Unfortunately, had engine problems and was out at lap 100. So now we'll head back over to the media center and see what Kevin Harvick had to say about his second win in a row.
Yeah, it's been it's been a lot of years accumulated with a lot of great race teams and people and situations, and you've won some that you should, you've won some that you shouldn't. And, I think when you tag that triple-digit number to it, it really lets you realize that you've been fortunate to accomplish a lot of things and do things, consistently throughout the years. So it's been fun. I think for me, the last 5 years have really been the part that have been the most fun for me, just because of the fact that, I've been able to, come into Stewart-Haas Racing, and Gene and Tony, took a chance and said, okay, we're going to do this a long time in advance, and Rodney was convinced to come over here and be a part of this deal. So, I think when you look at that, it's a little bit different when you look at something that has been built from the ground up, not only from the race cars and the transporters, but with the people. And for me, at this particular point, it's more fun. It's as fun. I love to win. Don't get me wrong. I love to win and love to be a part of that whole equation that comes with all these guys. And it starts with the ownership group and pulling into victory lane and seeing how excited all those guys are that do everything on the race cars that I'm fortunate just to sit in. I think is one of the things that is the most exciting for me. So I'm just fortunate to be riding the wave. And you can call me old, you can call us old, but cars are fast and things are going well.
All right, so before we wrap up here, we will take a look at the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series points after Las Vegas. Again, as always, the playoff grid over here to the left, and we will talk about this week's movers and shakers. One thing before we get to that, though, one thing I want to point out, Kevin Harvick right now seems to be the playoff point king so far. 13 playoff points already through 3 races for Kevin Harvick. No one else has more than 1 playoff point so far besides Austin Dillon, who has the 5 for winning the Daytona 500. Martin Truex Jr., our kind of king of playoff points and stage wins and everything else last season, does not have a single playoff point yet to his name after 3 races. Just an interesting tidbit and something to watch here as, at least early on, Kevin Harvick seems to have dethroned Martin Truex as the playoff and stage point king so far. So, movers and shakers this week. Kyle Larson, your biggest mover this week. He is up 6 spots all the way up to the 6th position in points. Kyle Busch jumps 5 up to the 5th position. Brad Keselowski jumps 4 from last week up to 7th. Martin Truex Jr. up 2 to 4th. And Ryan Newman also jumping 2 spots up to the 14th position. Now everybody moving down. Denny Hamlin drops 5 spots after his 17th place finish this week. Clint Boyer also dropping 5, as well as Kurt Busch also dropping 5 positions. Eric Almirola down 2, and Paul Menard and Bubba Wallace each drop 1 spot in the points this week. So that will do it for us this week, I do believe. Don't forget to tune in on Wednesday for Arn and Talks. Like I said earlier, we will have our IndyCar correspondent Tom Poole back this week to do a preview of the IndyCar season as they get their season started this coming weekend at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. So we are excited about that and ready to have IndyCar back in action, and we'll talk with Tom about that on Wednesday. But that, I think that will do it. This has been The Pole Position. Do not forget to subscribe if you're not already so you don't miss a thing from RNN. Like the video, it is much appreciated, and do not forget to support us on Patreon, patreon.com/racingnewsnow. Any little bit is much appreciated, and it helps us continue to grow and give you the quality content that you deserve. So this has been The Pole Position, where you always start on the front row. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.